So here are Eastern Conference All-Star starters. We all agreed on 4 of the 5 starters. Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics, of course, having a very great season, potentially his best individual season. Giannis from the Bucks has been unbelievable. You got Karl-Anthony Towns from the Knicks, definitely a big jump up in his first season with New York. And then Donovan Mitchell of the league best Cleveland Cavaliers. Stats a little bit down, but that's allowed the team to be a little more successful. And then our final East starter, split a little bit. Joey going with LaMelo Ball, the rest of us going Jalen Brunson. But Joey, to your point with the All-Star voting, LaMelo has been number 1 pretty much this whole entire time.
That's the only reason. I am of sane mind to know I would pick Jalen Brunson to be my starter if I was an All-Star voter and fan vote didn't matter. However, since the fan vote matters, and like I said, he's been number 1 in the guards vote, he's probably going to get one of those starting positions.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. He's averaging. Yeah, I mean, it's LaMelo. He's averaging 30.7 assists per game, something like that, obviously, for a struggling Hornets team. But Nick, I'm curious to hear what you think about that position. Obviously, you picked Brunson for this. So the fan voting accounts for 50% of the vote for All-Star. It's 50% fans, 25% media, 25% players. Do you think that the fan vote is enough for LaMelo to end up starting in the game, or will the media and players kind of offset that and it will end up being a guy like Jalen Brunson?
No, I definitely think that the fan vote could sway the starting lineup in the game. And that's fine. I mean, that's what it's there for. Like, the fans have always picked the All-Stars. I didn't necessarily look at this as like a prediction thing. It was more so like, I'm gonna pick my All-Stars, and the way that I weight things is based on stats for sure. Stats are huge for these picks. Team success, and then player impact on their team. Those are kind of like the 3 things I try and weigh out and balance those. One thing I'd had to take into account, especially in the West, is different this year, is legacy. I didn't really anticipate having to do that. But legacy was another thing that I had to take into account this year. But for the LaMelo versus Brunson debate, Brunson's on the team that is winning more. I think he's the more impactful player on his team. LaMelo's got the stats, but Jalen's not far off of it, so I went Jalen.
I feel like, that's again, I would pick Jalen Brunson if I thought it would, but when you're talking about the media and the players, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, the fans voted all that, but they're probably still there's gonna be a lot of people that are still gonna pencil in LaMelo just because his stats are so good, even though he's on such a struggling team. They're like, well, it's stat wise, there's a lot of people that just look at numbers. Let's be real. So there's going to be people that are going to vote for him as an all-star. And even with that, I think combined with the fan vote, Jalen Brunson should be the starter, though. That's my final thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. LaMelo may end up starting the game. I look at LaMelo's numbers, and obviously, 30 points is 30.7 assists. He's also taking 25 shots a game. He hasn't been very efficient, and his team hasn't been winning a whole lot. So honestly, I haven't been the most impressed with LaMelo's season because, I mean, if you take 25 shots a game and 13 threes a game, even if it's on low efficiency, you'll probably end up averaging close to 30 points per game. So we'll see what ends up happening. I guess the difference is LaMelo is definitely, a flashy. He's made for an all-star game for sure. So either way, he'll end up making the game. I mean, whether a player starts or is a reserve really doesn't matter in the whole long run. It usually only matters for this week stretch where we're trying to compile our lists. Right. As far as our reserves, so I guess I should have mentioned the roster construction going into this. So obviously the 5 starters, it's 2 guards and 3 front court players. Reserves, it's 2 guards and 3 front court players as well, along with 2 wild card spots that can be anything. So for the Eastern Conference reserves, because we had a mix of LaMelo and Brunson, we all ended up having obviously both of those guys. We only agreed on 2 of the reserves. The rest of them were all kind of a little bit spread out. So our two players that we agreed on to be East reserves from the two top teams in the Eastern Conference, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. And that's the wrong video. Hold on. There we go. These are there's the reserves. There's Jaylen Brown for the Celtics having another solid season for Boston, the number 2 team in the East. And then Evan Mobley from the Cavaliers. We all have him making his first All-Star game with the incredible jump up that he has had this season in the way that the Cavs have been playing. But then the rest of our East reserves, here they all are. Here are all the East reserves, Brown and Mobley, the two players that we all agreed on. Then everything else is kind of spread out a little bit across the board. Joey, what is the first thing that kind of stands out to you when looking at all of our picks for the East?
I'll be honest. I'm kind of shocked that you and Goglin don't have Lillard.
Well, you guys picked Garland over Lillard. And then Miles picked Siakam over Allen.
I picked Garland over Cunningham. Because that's the thing. Cunningham's having a great year. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like the Cavs should have 3 All-Stars. Look at the Hawks back in the day. They had 4.
I have 3 All-Stars on the I have 3 All-Stars on the Cavs and Young and Cunningham and Lillard. I have no Garland.
Oh, I didn't put Allen. No.
You guys should have put Allen.
No. Allen, I love Allen, but no.
Yeah, I think Damian Lillard might be a case where where the Bucks just get snubbed an All-Star at this point. I remember the Damian Lillard was getting snubbed a lot when he was in the Western Conference to start off with. But honestly, with the way that the season has been going, and the Milwaukee Bucks have obviously been playing a lot better as of late, I wasn't sure if they exactly deserved 2 All-Stars. And with Damian Lillard, he's obviously having a good season, and it's hard to knock really any of these players. I tried to spread some love across the board with some players. I mean, Jackson and I both not having Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is a great player. He was just the player that ended up not making it for us. He was definitely the runner-up for sure for me individually. My big thing for this list, Cade Cunningham to me absolutely should make the All-Star game. In my personal opinion, for the way he's been playing and the way he's kind of led that Pistons team up, as the star player. I mean, he's averaging nearly a triple-double this season. He's been phenomenal.
In all fairness, he was my runner-up. Same way you're talking about Lillard, same way I would be about Cunningham. He's just my runner-up. Like, I do value probably winning a lot more, and if you have the stats to back it up a little bit, I'm cool. That's why, and I do kind of feel bad for Lillard. I'm mad that you brought up the Blazers day because, man, that dude got snubbed so often. Every now and then I look back at his awards and all the All-Star. I'm like, man, should have at least like 3 or 4 more.
He really should. And he could easily, Damian Lillard could easily make it over Tyler Hero for me, and I'm sure for Jackson too. Maybe not for Jackson.
Not for Jackson.
But, I want to give some love to Tyler Hero. He's been incredible this year on a Heat team where there has been, a lot of drama. We talked about Jimmy Butler and players like Bam struggling this year, Rozier struggling, and Jimmy not really being there. Tyler Hero really has the Heat being in a place to make the postseason when, in any other season with all this drama, they really shouldn't be in the conversation at all. So I wanted to give him some credit for that. And then of course, 3 Cavs. I had Garland in over Allen because, Garland is averaging like 21.7 assists on 50, 40, 90. That's all-star stuff right there. And
that's nuts.
That's all-star stuff being, averaging those numbers as the 3rd best player on the best team in the NBA record-wise. Had to get him into the All-Star game. And then with the Siakam, I was very close to giving it to Jalen Johnson instead, who Jackson ended up having him making his first All-Star game. But with the way that the Pacers have jumped up and Siakam has been playing very solid all season, wanted to give him some love.
That's kind of where I was. I was like, obviously Paolo would be there. I was going to say, you texted me because I put Paolo in there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he's been injured.
Yeah,
he can't do that. I'm like, oh, he should be up there, but dang. And same with, like, Bam. Like, it's usually he's been alive for the last couple of years up there, and then this year it's just so down. I do love the Hero love. Like, he would probably be on my next one if I could, him or Cunningham. If I could get rid of a Siakam or something like that and have 3 wild cards, I would definitely put Harrow or Cunningham up there.
Yeah, for sure. It was certainly difficult. And, you know, every year we always end up getting some injury replacements. So some of those guys that we didn't, you know, have will end up making the game, you know, as a forward spot. I think Jared Allen or Siakam or Jalen Johnson, those 3 were like all super close. Like on my first initial ranking of this list, on my 3rd forward spot, it was literally Allen / Johnson / Siakam. And I just picked a name by the end of it. You know, do you guys think that at the end of this, by the time we get injury replacements, if anyone has to miss the game, do you think that there will be 4 Cavaliers in the All-Star game? Because that certainly would be historic. And, you know, it doesn't really happen a whole lot, maybe once every 6, 7, 8 years.
I don't think Garland's making it.
I'm the same way about Allen. Like, I'll be honest, but if we have a bunch of injury replacements and it does happen, we might.
Miles,
I think 3 is the most likely, though.
Yeah.
I think you made the best case against Garland unintentionally. Like, yeah, he's averaging 21, 7, and whatever on 50, 40, 90. That is incredible. That is all-star stuff. And then you said he's the 3rd best player on his. So I look at the other guys around him. Dame has better numbers, arguably. I guess him and Dame are the 2 that are closest, and you guys left Dame off. But I think Cunningham's got a better argument. I think Hero's got a better argument. Trae Young's numbers are much better than Garland's.
I had Trae on there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Trae, yeah. Well, assist wise, is obviously leading the league, you know, in assists. But I would also say, I mean, the Cavs are 35-6. They've been 6-7 games above the whole rest of the conference the whole season. I think it'd be fair to have a third of the East roster from the team that's been fought by.
Yeah, I guess just those other guys, like other than Dame, like Hero, Trae Young, and Cade are all the best players on their team. And I know Trae Young's efficiency is down, but I can't ignore it. I think he's got 25 and 12 or 23 and 12 a night.
Yeah, 23 and 12. I was definitely thinking of having a Hawk on there. I think Jalen Johnson, I honestly, if we're the Cavs and the Hawks, I think Jalen Johnson and Jared Allen may both have better chances to make it than Garland and Allen, or Garland and Trae Young, even though they're worse players.
Yeah.
Rosters, you know, set up.
That I can't argue with it. Yeah,
absolutely.
But as far as who I got Garland, but it definitely, there's a whole lot of different players. You know, it obviously could be.
I just always look back at the Hawks in 2015 when they had Teague, Korver, Millsap, and Horford all in the All-Star game, and I'm just like, this Cavs 4 is way better than that Hawks 4.
Well, I would also say, I mean, the Eastern Conference All-Stars were way worse at that time. Like, there's not this much talent across the board to where, like, you know, and also,
2 teams, you know, we had 7 of them, with the Cavs having Kevin Love, Kyrie, and LeBron, and the Hawks having those 4 that year.
Yeah, and you know, and Kyle Korver that year ended up being an injury replacement. Like, usually when you get 4, it's 3 in the actual game, and then you end up getting the injury replacement.